Okay, right. Well, hello there. My name's Felicity, and I have been helping to organise this apple fair for about 25 years. The display is in itself lovely visually, looks beautiful, and it smells absolutely gorgeous, which is difficult to get through that. But and we have about 180 different varieties of apple, all local, all from Herefordshire, Gloucestershire or Worcestershire. Possibly Shropshire. We also have a lot of quite old varieties, so some of the more unusual, really old varieties, going back to perhaps the 1200s even, are here. Hi. The other thing I think that I always love is the different names we've got. There's so many different ones. There's this one here, Pig Adern, Bloody Turk. Obviously the name comes from that wonderful deep colour that it's got, lovely colour. Whether the Turk bit has any indication of its origin, I don't know. I haven't heard that it has. William Crump, I believe named after a gardener, 10 Commandments, and that comes from the 10 dots. Sometimes, oh gosh. Some of them live up to the name. So this one, this very large one here, is called Jumbo. Have we got an Ashmead's kernel anywhere? Because that's, I think that might be an Ashmead's kernel. And that, I think, if I had to choose just one, it would be the Ashmead's kernel. I think that's it, yeah. No, it isn't actually, no.
Ashmead's kernel?
Yeah, but it's not. It's a Queen Cox, that one. No, that's Golden Russet. We've eaten them all. You see that one? Is that Ashmead's kernel, maybe?
I came to Leominster today because I can't identify this. It's from my neighbour. And although I'm a member of the Marcher Apple Network, I don't have a clue what this one is.
Picking apples so we can have a juicing session at the apple fair on Saturday. One variety we've picked is Stoke Edith Pippin.
Stoke Edith Pippin.
Which is a local variety. It's quite nice and sweet, very, very pleasant apple juice.
My name's Barbara Jones. I've lived in Leominster now 51 years. I married a local man. My children went to school here. My children were all christened in this church. And 5 years ago, my husband had his funeral here. But Leominster is a lovely town to live in.
After I was married, I went apple picking to earn more money, of course.
We didn't have much money and my children were small. So there was a local lady.
A lady in Leominster, she used to organise gangs of people.
And she said, would you like to go? And I thought, well, I'll give it a try.
My name's Raymond Treasure, Stocktonbury, and we're standing in the cider orchard, or one of the cider orchards. So we would end up with about 20 women from Leominster and the surrounding area and the village. And anybody who was fit enough to walk would come and pick apples.
We used to move from Shrewsbury down here for my mum to do us you know, like seasonal work. And she'd say, come on, down to Hereford. And we'd say, why Hereford again? Like, because we used to be took out of school anyway to come down. And she'd say, Consortium of England. This is where we earn our bread. Doreen. My name's Doreen Johnson. Was Thomas. Met my husband when I was 14. Through work, field work, growing up. And it was just commuting back and forth from Shrewsbury to Hereford and back every year. And I've lived down here ever since.
They used to come and pick me up in the van. There's had my pram in there and 3 kiddies.
Children went with you, yes. They play up and down all day or they'd help us pick.
They used to love it. They used to hate it when I finished work, didn't they?
It was like a holiday to them. Because if they had 2 weeks off school, it was like a big holiday to them. They were running about up and down the orchards, you know what I mean? Just having absolutely the best time ever.
All the parents would take it in turns just to keep an eye.
Yeah.
You know, they'd share that responsibility.
When I first had my oldest boy, I had him in September. We started apple picking in the October and he come to work with me. And I used to have one of the big old silver cross prams. And what I'd do if it was a wet, miserable day, take a big sheet of plastic and we'd make a tent under the apple tree to put over top of the pram so I could get underneath that to actually feed him and change him.
There was no help, social help in those days. So you had to go work on the land to earn the extra money.
Eaters, dessert apples, cooking apples.
We were picking golden delicious. You have to cut the apples and you have to twist them. If they wouldn't twist off, you couldn't pick them.
Pick them like eggs is what Phil used to tell us when he came round. Pick them like eggs. Pick them like eggs. So we did.
Off the floor, we all stood on the outside round the tree and worked into the tree.
After there was like 20 in a field, it wouldn't take long to pick an orchard.
Shaking the trees, you would have to have a shaker. And one of the neighbours would come along with a great big long stick with a hook on and shake it. Everything would fall splat to the ground.
Then the likes of the rest of us then, we'd be down on the floor and we'd just scrape them into big tumps.
In a bucket, into a bucket, and then you tip the buckets into Hessian bags or that type of thing, and then we'd have to load all the bags up.
The rotten apples, bruised apples, stones, sticks, bits of old rat, everything would go in the trailer.
They really were looked on as quite the best pickers, and they were quite willing to move around from place to place.
They'd be like me, me mum, me sister, me brother. Then they'd be like 3 or 4 other different families that come like from away from up Wales, Shropshire. Half the time there'd be strangers that come, but by the end of the season, you'd be the best of friends. And we'd travel back with a trailer absolutely heaped of apples, and we'd all bury ourselves down in the apples to make sure it was safe to get home, with baskets and prams and dogs, you can imagine, can you? And everybody, we'd have the waves and the people blowing the horns, because obviously we was helping to keep it all going.
It was mostly hops with my mother's family, and they would go as a group in their caravans, and they camped there, and they were always welcome by the farmers or the landowners.
Yes, they would come and do the apple harvest in their caravans, yeah, and they never left any mess. And they'd have a little fire there and always leave my father every year a little white kitten for good luck, which was so sweet.
The Vardo would have been where most of the ladies and little girls would have slept, but the boys used to make like a lean-to at the side. A lot of people were really nasty about gypsies, and that's really why this lady went into a house.
Because you know that you're settled, you got home, and you're not going to be moved on. And the way that travellers is being treated at the moment, and have been for as long as I can remember, you know what I mean, nobody wants them anyway. So I suppose a house is your best option then. Lived in a caravan up until 21 years ago.
Do you miss it?
I did when I first moved in the house, I got to be honest. Big change. You do feel free. You haven't got a letterbox. end of every season, whether it be up picking, apple picking, strawberry picking, whatever it was, we'd all have a nice get-together, Friday, maybe Saturday night. The older generation, the ones that could play the squeeze box, they'd play the bluebell poker and they'd put a big piece of wood down and they'd get on it and they'd step dancing it. And we'd be all up dancing and the kids all out as well. Just one community, having a brilliant time and knowing that the season was done.
Yes, I did. Yes, I always liked apple picking.
I used to enjoy it. I used to love it. I used to.
We loved it. We loved it. We couldn't wait for the season to come in.
I used to like all of them, to be quite honest.
Did some potato picking up?
Oh yeah, potato picking up, all sorts of things. Swede pulling.
I would say it was my favourite.
The apples was my most favourite of the lot because everybody was together. Whereas on the ops, everybody would be split up. So many down the field, so many down the yard, so many in the kills. But when you were in apple picking, you were all in one field together.
Some of the people that lived in Leominster were actually lived in the village their generations before, and children came to pick apples. So it's quite a tight community in a way. We all sort of know each other and know too much about each other probably. I used to have to work with them because as soon as you left the field, they'd all sit on the bucket and do nothing. So you had to be there with them, which was always a bit of a pain. So when we became mechanised, I wasn't too sorry. We've got a machine that picks them up like a large lawnmower, puts them into a big box at the back, and then that hydraulically lifts it up and tips it into a bulk trailer, and that's taken off to Ledbury or to Bulmers. Just Julian does it all on his own. We got one person working on the farm. In 1900 there were 22 people working on the farm, and when I left school there were 4, and then now it's just Julian and myself. Oh God, it's a relief, yeah. I wouldn't want to have to go back to that particularly, no.
It has ruined it, to be honest with you. Don't get me wrong, it's a good thing then for the farmers, it's a good thing for the buyers, because they get the apples in that much quicker and obviously easier, do you know what I mean? But it ain't for people who used to enjoy it. And there's like people out there now that's hardly got 10 pence to their name. They'd only be too glad of a bit of apple picking. Do you know what I mean? There's people out there who haven't got nothing. And if there was more of that, if that come back again, people wouldn't be as poor as they are.
I used to have some ladies come originally, pick the ends of the rows where the machine couldn't quite get the fruit, and it'd get wasted otherwise. But now I don't bother now.
There's so many.
There's so many, I waste them. It is not worth it. It's not worth the labour charge.
Where we used to pick the Golden Delicious now by the airfield, that's a quarry.
A lot of them have been grubbed out, so that, you know, people think that's the thing to do. But I mean, this one in Leominster, that's a really good idea that they made it into a community orchard, and anybody can come along and pick some apples, take some home, make some pies.
It's called the Millennium Green Orchard, and there's a mixture of dessert apples, cooking apples and cider apples. There's something for everybody basically. Most people obviously are a bit nervous about scrumping, but it's better than them going to waste. Oh, it's an old word for picking apples from other people's trees.
Scrump? Oh yes, I've scrumped.
Mum, do you want an apple pie? Where have you got those apples from?
We went up Cockcroft, and the treasures had a lot of fruit trees up there, you know. Lovely little red apples there. Oh, beautiful they were. We never picked them off the tree. We always picked them off the floor, you know, because the trees were a bit too high to reach anyway, you know. And we used to take some couple of bags and we used to go up over the fence and fill the bags up. They'd have gone to waste anyway. They were only on the floor, you know. Like.
We were getting these massive apples off his tree in our jumpers turned up like that. Yeah. And we were walking back to load these apples up on our bikes, and the local policeman came down his bicycle. I can't remember his name now, but anyway, he said, aye, what are you boys up to? And he said, nothing. I can't remember his name, but he used to always cycle round on a Sunday afternoon, the local Bobby. And he said, you've been scrumping, haven't you? He used to have a little hazel stick tied to the crossbar on his bicycle. And he said, I bet your mum and dad are asleep. He said, you best give me those apples. He said, or I'll go down and tell your dad, he said. And that won't end well, will it? And we gave him his apples. I'm sure he had the apples. We got them and he had them. You know, that was corruption on a low level. Yeah, we got corruption on a big level now. Yeah, so we basically let the local Bobby have the apples just to, you know, so we didn't get a stick across our bum. So, you know, have you filmed that now?
I mean, we were in Scilly. We always had a lookout so that if the farmer was coming down through the trees, we were away.
Apple catchers.
Is that underwear?
Yes. Apple catchers is definitely your underwear, your pants, that is. The long ones that they used to wear.
Not that I'm an expert on ladies' pants, I'll have you know, but they used to have a very tight pair of pants around the legs, around the waist, and they used to store their apples in it.
They put apples in them to hide them, you know, so nobody knew they got them in there.
If you had your jacket on, you always had what we called a rabbiting pocket inside your coat. It was another pocket which was actually sewn in. That's where you put them.
And hence the phrase scrumpy, referring to our sort of a rougher type of cider.
I'm happy to talk about scrumpy, but to my mind, scrumpy is badly made cider. But when people come to here and say, have you got scrumpy, I don't know what they mean. I say no, because we make quality cider.
Who the hell would be a cider maker?
Yeah, he must be absolutely insane, because it's hard work. It's wet, cold, and things get blocked up. Yeah, I started it with my parents, so yeah.
So it is your fault that you're doing this?
Absolutely, yeah.
My name is Robert Robinson. I'm the High Sheriff of Herefordshire. As well as being the High Sheriff, I'm actually a cider maker.
It's equally as refreshing as the first one, but it's got more notes to it than the first one.
Yes, exactly.
It's definitely more caramelised, like a brown sugar.
One of the reasons people are interested in small cider makers like ourselves is that our products will be different every year, even if we use exactly the same fruit, because the sugar levels and the tannin levels and the quality of the fruit will vary depending on the weather each summer. Whereas a commercial producer, they'll go through major tasting sessions, Bulmers will, in ensuring consistency of product, because that's what their customers want.
You can see that every single farm has its little patch of orchards. Cider was the drink of Herefordshire. At about this time, there were between 20 and 30,000 hogsheads of cider being produced in the county.
Do you like cider?
I love it. Absolutely love it.
Historically, with the older orchard, the standard orchards, used to have people in to pick apples into buckets, in bags, or whatever, and they got paid in cider.
And that was about 1900 to about the First World War. They would make cider here, and then it was dished out to the men as they wanted it, into costrels, which were little barrels.
So that would have been full of cider. They would have had a horn beaker like this one, and it always went clockwise around the costrel. It was bad luck to go anti-clockwise.
They have as much as they wanted, but it was also deducted off their wages. So if they drank too much, they'd end up not taking that much home at the end of the week.
A worker at harvest time would expect 6 quarts of cider to be provided to him per day. That's 12 pints.
The process is very simple. You gather the fruit when it's ripe, when it's falling from the trees readily. You wash it, which is what I'm doing here. These are Perry pears. You mill it, essentially chop it up. It's then in a form you can press the juice out of the fruit.
At this time of year, as you can see from the tump behind me, we've been busy pressing.
You then put that into a tank, and our approach, again in common with a lot of other makers like ourselves, is to let it ferment using wild yeast. We just let it ferment and it will. There's a lot of wild yeast. Primarily it lives in the barns and in the woodwork. Depending on the weather, it will be either cider or perry, maybe before Christmas, but more likely in the spring or later.
These can be seen in just about every farmhouse in Herefordshire.
This crushes the apples. It's like the mill, the process you saw before.
The horse would have gone into the frame up the side there and just walked round, turning this giant wheel. So the apples were poured onto the middle part and scooped into the trough and crushed down to a pulp. And then every so often the pulp was taken out and moved across to the cider press.
The process of fermentation produces carbon dioxide, and that is what the bubbles are. So we produce sparkling ciders by putting the nearly fermented juice in the bottle where it will continue to ferment. There is a greater increase in production rather than consumption at the moment.
There's too many apple trees. That's what needs to change. They were handing contracts out like confetti and everybody got on the bandwagon, but what they didn't realise was the husbandry got a lot better with the fruit, with looking after the trees. So the older trees were cropping heck of a lot better than they were originally. And so they just got just got a blooming glut of cider fruit then.
What we're able to do is offer a little bit of a market opportunity by taking some of their apples and pears. If we're keen to have more brown snout and our brown snout apples aren't so big, then we work with other people. Mr. Pudge's Brown's apples, for example.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's a crowded market. I think the more people involved, the better, because that'll widen the awareness of cider in the general public.
It's not about necessarily getting the drinking age people in that area to just drink more, but to drink better.
Trying to put it on a level similar to wine.
Cider and perry, especially perry, go far better with food than wine or beer. I've drunk perry with my Sunday lunch every Sunday all of my life.
At the end of the day, you just got to do what we can. I mean, just keep drinking cider.
Oh, crumble.
Apple crumble.
I love an apple crumble.
Mine is apple crumble.
Oh, it's got to be apple crumble.
Crumble.
Apple batter.
Crumble at the moment.
Apple tart.
Apple tart's my favourite. My husband would say a crumble.
Crumble's my favourite. My husband says apple pie.
And I make crumble as well.
I love making apple crumble. That's my favourite thing to do. Me and Mum spend mother and daughter time together and we were cooking apple crumble. It was lovely.
My favourite apple pudding are apple dumplings. It's got to be with a light suet and big pieces of apple in there.
I would say a baked apple, Bramley, with some sultanas and some brown sugar and some chopped fruit in there. Well, with cream.
Apple crumble with hot custard.
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 I suppose traditionally you'd have cream, but I'm trying to wean myself off the high cholesterol stuff.
Custard first, ice cream on the top.
Well, neither particularly.
Bit of both.
Apple pie with custard. Apple and raspberry crumble with custard.
Apple and ginger crumble with yogurt.
Apple curry.
My mother always makes this one curry. It's made out of mango, so like very sour mangoes actually. So when the green apples are ready, you can make the same curry but with green apples. But we didn't know that until we came here.
The cooking apple, the green apple, we using same like raw mango for chutney, curry, everything, the same bitter taste. We are not getting mango here. Some of the Kerala people using it because I'm telling them also you can use this way.
Apple pie. Mum used to make lovely Bramley apple pies when she was alive.
Oh, my apple pie. I love apple pie. A little story about the apple pie was that back in 2008, my wife had a major heart attack and was in Birmingham Hospital waiting for a bypass operation. And I used to go up every day, and this one day this lady said, well, what are you doing for Sunday dinner? And I said, oh, I don't know, I'll have something. You know, she said, no, you come out to us, because they were on a farm at Ibington. So I went out there and I had a beautiful meal. It was a really good roast meal. And afterwards, what did we have? Apple pie. It was my favourite, and she knew it. When I was going to go, I said, look, I don't want to be cheeky, but can I have another piece of apple pie to take to my wife? I said, because the hospital food is terrible. And she said, of course you can. So she got this plate, and she got 2 big slices. She said, there's one for you for tomorrow. I said, oh, thank you very much. Anyway, I got them home, but that's as far as they went, because I ate them both. And I didn't tell my wife till about 10 years later. Well done, and again.
Pelting. Well, yeah, when I was little, we used to ride our bikes to an area in Hereford called Newton Farm. And we used to get these little tiny crab apples, stick them on a willow stick and flick them at freight trains. Just watch them explode on the side of a train was great.
You would have a pile of tins in the corner, and then you would have your little pile of apples, which were obviously waste ones, and you'd try and knock over the tins, and that would get you in good stead for when you went to the fair, you see, because you'd have a ball and you'd have to win the prizes.
The throwing apple, we used to get a willow stick, sharpen a point on the end, stick the apple on the end of the stick, and sling it. And I can tell you that if one hits you, it hurts. I've had more than one black eye. This wasn't caused by apple throwing, but that was one of our main games. There could be up to 20 kids fighting each other with these apples. Kids today, with all their electric gear, can stay in the house and not lift their head, but we didn't have any of that. We had no toys as such, you know, we used to make our own games.
We did a bit of apple bobbing, us girls, when it was like May Fair time.
Definitely.
Apple bobbing.
Apple bobbing.
Yeah, yes.
There's going up windows.
No, we were absolutely rubbish, and we would sort of push each other's heads under the water and get very naughty.
Bob the apple in the water. I hated that. It gave me chaps.
No, I don't like it. No, I didn't like it.
Hands behind your back, and you couldn't cheat, and you end up with your face absolutely plastered in water. They'd always put the awkward apples, and they were going round and round and round in the bowl, and you go, I can't get it.
Did you like it?
Yes, it was all right.
So as well as apple bobbing, we used to tie string around apples and pin them to the door frame, and then having your hands behind your back, you had to try and bite it.
Positions. 3, 2, 1.
It is very hard, you know, it's, I mean, half the time, the one on the string, you were headbutting it. Those are the days.
My dad was a little bit crafty because he'd swing it. And then he said, right, I'm swinging it towards you. Right, now you've got to try it and get a bite. And I was going, yeah, but and then he'd go past that way or he'd go past the other side. And then eventually he said, all right, you can have a go now. I'll hold it now, you can have a bite. But then you'd sort of go towards it and he'd just go.
You two win on the grounds of perseverance.
humble apple, we don't think much about it really, about its symbolism and its meaning, but it has a very long history in Christian religion and theology. In fact, it goes back beyond Christianity to our spiritual ancestors, the Jews, and to the book of Genesis. And some of you may well know the creation stories in the book of Genesis about how Adam and Eve are tempted by the serpent, who may or may not be the devil, to eat from the tree of the fruit of life. And that's often held to be an apple tree. It's not in the Bible, but the legend then goes on that when Adam died, part of the apple had lodged in his throat, hence the Adam's apple. And over time, an apple tree grew out of his grave. And there's a long history with this apple tree. Excuse me. My Adam's apple isn't working as well as it might today. Mythology says that the tree, the apple tree, which grew out of the throat of Adam, is actually cut down and used for the wood of the cross. Now, the importance of that is that on the cross, Christians believe Jesus reversed the disobedience of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. And so it's a nice thought that perhaps the wood of the cross is actually from the original apple that Adam and Eve ate.
The strange thing is that we assume that the fruit in the Garden of Eden, the forbidden fruit, was an apple, because in Western European culture that's what we think about it being. In the Bible it doesn't actually say that it was an apple. In some Islamic traditions it's an apricot. We don't know what it was, but I think it's telling that it became an apple in the West because apples are so mythologically significant here as well. Over the years you have apples of immortality in Greek mythology, you have apples of immortality in Norse mythology.
An apple a day keeps the doctor away. That's my favourite one. Well, because it means it encourages kids especially to eat vegetable, eat fruit, and I think it works well.
Your sour apple means if you bite into a cider apple, although it looks lovely, it is sour. So that leaves a sour taste in your mouth. That's like some people, isn't it? You get on your nerves.
Meaning they're a bit, grumpy, a bit bad-tempered maybe.
It means it's a son and daughter like them parents, really.
If, let's say, a father had a colourful past, the son would also have a colourful lifestyle.
Take off with another woman and leave his wife and kids. We say, what can you do? The apple don't fall far from the tree.
If a lady had a baby before she was married and then her daughter did, that would be the thing they'd say. But times change.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
The apple never falls far. Yeah, I guess it's true really, isn't it?
Possibly. Well, my father wasn't involved in crime, so neither am I.
I don't believe that the prejudices and the character of the elder is automatically carried on to the younger, and one of the great things about modern day society is the wealth of information that's around to allow people to make up their own minds about things. People do change. Are you like your parents?
No. No. Not at all. Like that. Not really. No.
Unfortunately, probably yes.
When you put apples in a box or a barrel, you make sure they are good ones, It's no good putting rotten things in.
But if you get a box with a rotten apple in, it always makes the others close by it go rotten as well.
I would suppose it means by that one bad person can influence a good person in a bad way.
I don't think it's true of people at all. No, far from it.
Yeah, it probably is a bit, I suppose.
I would say it probably is.
Oh, that's for sure.
Sometimes good people can be easily swayed.
Yeah, there are bad apples. There are, in my time knocking around the world with the armed forces, you meet them. There are some genuinely, I'll use the term evil people in this world. You have to isolate them from the mainstream, I suspect, and show them up for what they are.
Well, that's a bit unfair, really, because if you've got somebody in the family who's not really pulling their weight or is poorly or as nowadays you have like mental health and that, I think it's just fair to say that you would help help people now, but in those days I suppose they would just say clear off, wouldn't they?
So you don't like that saying then?
Not much, no. No, I don't, no.
It's a truth, I'm afraid to say, it's a truth. As High Sheriff, you have a central part of your remit is law and order, and it's quite upsetting how often you see one rotten apple contaminating a barrel. County lines, usually one rotten apple getting at the barrel.
If there's one bad person in a community, it doesn't mean to say that the rest of them's bad, does it? It's like where the travelling community is concerned again. Because you get one bad travelling family, you can't tie the rest with the same broom. Do you know what I mean? You can't say because he's bad, the rest of them's bad, because you can't.
It's not always true, is it?
What's not always true?
What they say about people.
That's Stoke Edith. That's near Hereford.
Not many people know that there is also a Leominster in Massachusetts in the USA. Somebody that lived there travelled around the whole United States with bags of apple seeds and planted apple trees. When some people from Leominster, USA visited us, they brought us a little souvenir of Johnny Appleseed. I'm not quite sure why he's got a saucepan on his head.
In Germany, where the Christmas tree comes from, first recorded in about the 1630s in Strasbourg, there used to be apples hung on the tree. Sometimes they had foil over them, and they were literally just little treats because obviously before refrigeration, etc., the apple, what a wonderful thing, it lasts through the year, and is the origin, of course, of our modern baubles, which only date from about 130 years ago from industrialisation.
Harvest festival, saying thank you to God for the harvest and for our health, wealth and happiness.
It is one of the most important services, I think, in the church, because, well, it's our food, isn't it?
We would take the little Devon red apples, which were the best. Everything in the chapel had to be the best to say thank you.
Well, yes, that's tradition. I'm all for tradition.
I can remember we had, what is it where they bless the orchards?
Wassail!
Wassailing, yes. We did have a wassailing in Acton Beach in one year, and unfortunately they had a desperately bad crop after that, so we didn't repeat it.
Wassailing, no, but people came to the farm and did that. I hugged trees, and my father just used to let them get on with it, really. He was quite an amicable man. But I was quite frightened of the wassailers because they looked so weird with their, like, face paint and their, like, feathers in their hats, and they were just very weirdy people. I suppose, like, nomadic hippies, to be fair.
The feathers, yeah, they're really just for decoration. We will be pouring some of the last year's cider around the roots of the tree, and we will be giving it some food, which is a bit of Christmas pudding soaked in cider and left in the branches. We will also scare away the evil spirits from the tree.
In a world that's sort of everything's corporate and artificial, it's something, even though it's all a bit sort of, you know, mystical and magical, it's something that's real, and it's something that's of the earth rather than made by McDonald's.
Come on, baby. We also need lighting.
it will be an extremely abundant harvest next year, and we will have fine cider for everyone when they visit the next wassail.
It's a very old tradition, so there must be something in it.
We hope so, anyway.
It's nice just for people to know what it was like. And it's a shame for the kids that's growing up today, I've got to be honest with you. It's like my little grandchildren, they'll never ever know anything like what we've done. And our upbringing, yeah, it was a rough upbringing. Do you know what I mean? It was a rough and ready upbringing, but we loved every minute of it. And we was always healthy. We'd be covered in mud. We'd be eating sandwiches with dirt on them, but we didn't care. As long as we could go and run wild.